This is a quick review of a phone I bought recently. It's an Android phone and it's a Cubot P6. Now, the reason I bought this was it's a generic Chinese phone. It's not a brand name phone. It's not like HTC, Nokia, Samsung. It's just generic Chinese. And I was quite intrigued to find out what sort of quality these phones are, particularly given that my older phone, my trusty Motorola Defy Plus, which it's got loads of advantages for someone who works outdoors. It's waterproof and it's impact resistant, and the new phone most certainly isn't waterproof, and I've not tested it for impact resistance either. The main problem I was having was the tiny screen in this, and the fact that so many modern applications like Facebook and Gmail actually put up really tiny text, and there are certain things you can do to increase the size, but it just started getting to the point that, I quite fancied trying a phablet, a combined phone tablet. So on the basis that China is really taken to Android, what they've actually done in China is they've taken Google's Android system and they've stripped all the Google logos and branding out of it, and they've made their own Chinese system, which is jokingly referred to as China Droid. And as a result, it's now becoming the standard for smartphones in China, where this year alone, and this year is 2014, they expect to sell 400 million smartphones. And you think, well, that's quite a lot actually. And it follows that everything's going to start being very much mass produced. Screens are going to get mass produced. The processor is going to get mass produced. And this particular phone uses a Mediatek processor, a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz, and basically that means it's not super mega ultra fast, but it's pretty fast for most applications. Like, I think the only time you'd really struggle with it is if you were running a really hardcore super mega processor power game, but for anything else, video, Facebook, any general application, including most games, it will be fast enough. And I've certainly not had any problems with it. So, as it came in a very small compact box with no instructions. It came with basically this sort of, it was almost a little fold out thing which just kind of said, it just listed the features. It wasn't what you call a manual. So they're kind of assuming that you know about Android and you're familiar with it. But having said that, I am familiar with Android, and I just took to it like a fish to water. It's really a generic Android phone. It's actually better than the big brand phones in many ways, because it doesn't have bloatware supplied with it. It doesn't have some sort of music facility, I mean, you can add that yourself if you wish, but it doesn't come with it forced on you. So that the suppliers like Samsung, HTC, or whatever can make a little extra cut through shipping these things out. It comes as a clean Android phone, and that is something that's really important, because a lot of times you buy an Android phone, you have to spend ages stripping all the bloat out of it, and in many instances you can't get rid of the applications that are built into it solidly. So it's nice to get a nice clean Android phone. One of the things I read on general Chinese phone reviews was that the GPS wasn't like to be very good. I've not had that problem. The GPS tracking, the positioning system, has been absolutely flawless for me. As long as you're using it outdoors, which all GPS systems are really designed to be used outdoors, you will get a modest signal indoors. But as long as you're using it outdoors, you're going to get a really good signal, because it all depends on how many satellites the thing can see. So things like Google Maps work very well in this. One thing that doesn't work well is Google, is it Sky Map? And it's the one that you can pan round and you can look at the night sky. That doesn't work because this phone, although it detects orientation, it doesn't really detect rotational position. It doesn't have the compass built into it. Not that I can work out anyway. But, that's not really a major issue, because the GPS doesn't really need that as such. But that's one minor niggle. I kind of like that application, the Google Sky Map thing, but it's no great loss. The signal strength is really good. I tried it over my brother's house, where he's got a relatively low signal, and it showed a good strong signal. I called my brother on it and we had a chat while moving about the rooms in the house, and it didn't cut out, it didn't cause any problems, so signal strength is good. The 5-inch screen is bright. It's not got a huge viewing angle, but having said that, you're not really needing a huge viewing angle. It's maybe a good thing that people can't kind of read your phone over your shoulder in the I mean, over the shoulder you would get a good vision, but maybe on a train you don't want other people looking at it from a distance, you know, when you're on Facebook and stuff like that, typing naughty things. But yeah, a bright screen. I had to turn the brightness down. It was actually too bright, which is good. The cameras. It's got a camera in the front and a camera in the back. Now the camera in the back is a flash and autofocus, but to be honest, despite the fact that it's quite high resolution, it's useful, it's usable. It's maybe got a wee bit too sensitive to light and infrared in particular. And the flash is nothing more than an illumination LED. It's good for close-up stuff, actually. It's very good for close-up stuff, which I appreciate because I often use the camera at work to take photos of wiring looms before I start disconnecting stuff, just in case I forget where everything goes. And it's actually very good for that. Now, the focus on it is quite annoying, I have to say, because while you're filming video, anytime you make a significant movement, it does a complete re-autofocus, and that means it sort of blurs and it sweeps through the focus range, and then it goes click and audibly clicks to the correct focus position, which works. I mean, if I was just recording something like this, it would probably be okay, but if you're moving about all the time with the camera, quieter focusing would have been a nice feature, and the image quality, while acceptable, isn't what you'd call high-end, but for a camera like this, it's fine. Did I mention the price? It's £80 for this camera. That's 80 British pounds, which equates to about 120 American dollars, which is buttons. Really, that's nothing. At that sort of price, if you break the camera, if you drop it in the toilet or in a puddle, or you drive over it or something like that, or get it stolen, it's not going to break your heart. You're just going to go and you're going to buy another one. It's not even worth insuring at that price. You might as well just go and buy another if you break it. And I'm sure most of you with smartphones have managed to break a smartphone. It's quite easy. The phone comes with it comes with one battery. Now the battery has lasted fine for me. I've never had a situation that the battery's run out. But then I do tend to charge it every night because I use it as my alarm clock. So it sits next to the bed and it just charges overnight. And that's fine, you know, the battery has never gone below about 70% on a typical heavy usage day. And that's heavy use. Now the other camera, he said, jumping about randomly, is very good. The camera on the front of the phone is just fixed focus. It's not as high resolution as the camera in the back, but both the visual and the sound quality are very good. So good that I've actually ordered a tripod adapter for this phone so that I can actually use it for recording blogs like this, little vlogs, video logs. It's dual SIM. Now I've never had a dual SIM phone before, and I was thinking, oh god, is this going to be something that's going to be quite hard to learn? And it wasn't. Now, I travel quite a lot backwards and forwards between Isle of Man and Scotland, so I've got a SIM for each of those countries, and I stuck them both in and I was thinking, oh god, I hope it's not going to use the one that's roaming at the moment. And before it did anything, it just announced that it had detected 2 new SIMs, and it came up with a little menu, and it identified each SIM by the provider's name. So in the case of the Isle of Man, it was the Shure SIM, and in the case of the Scottish one, it was the network called 3. So it identified the SIMs, the wee picture of the SIM and the name of the network in it, and a wee tick box next to it, and it said, what do you want me to use them for? So obviously, when I got this, I was in Scotland at the time, so I thought, well, the 3 network's the primary one, so I just ticked the box for phone calls, making phone calls, sending texts, and data. And for the other one, it was just receiving phone calls and receiving texts because it was roaming. And obviously when I'm now over in the Isle of Man, because I keep swapping backwards and forwards, Scotland, Isle of Man, Scotland, Isle of Man, and you just swap the settings for the SIMs around. Now only one of the SIM positions does the 3G data, So because I kind of get 3G here in the Isle of Man as well, you can just swap the SIMs around and just it detects that and it tells you. But on the whole, very, very easy to set up. Being an Android phone and being a bloat-free Android phone, it was extremely easy to set up because everything's there in the cloud with Google anyway. So really, it's just an Android phone. It's an Android phone with everything you'd expect from an Android phone, but with a really big, bright, lovely 5-inch screen that is so easy to read. And to be honest, it begs the question, why would you go for a phone that costs £600 when you can get one with a huge screen and all the functionality you'd want and no bloatware for £80? And I think in this sense that I'm not going to look back from switching to using a generic Chinese Android phone. I think this is the future for me because I love this phone and I've had it for a while and I just love it to bits. This is a great phone, the Cubot P6